Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to the final edition of the Superman and Lois Season 2 review series. And today I am going to be talking about episode 15, the Season 2 finale, Waiting for Superman, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was absolutely fantastic. I loved every second of it. I thought this was a great way to end Season 2. And this final episode for season 2 was an interesting one because ever since Superman and Lois debuted, there has been a lot of questions asked about where does the show fit into the Arrowverse. Now, people have been asking, is it connected to the Arrowverse? Is it not? I mean, we've already had a cameo appearance from John Diggle. More on that in a moment. But at the same time, he's been the only guy we've seen from those shows who has appeared in Superman and Lois. And we got a little reference from John Diggle about Oliver Queen. But other than that, we've not really seen Supergirl, Superman's cousin. We've not seen Alex Danvers. We've not really seen any of those characters appear in Superman and Lois. Now, we didn't really get a whole explanation about why we haven't seen those guys, but we kind of got an answer to that question. And it kind of makes sense because, I've been hearing stories about Superman and Lois is connected to the Arrowverse, but it's set on its own. I've heard other stories where people are saying, oh, it's just a standalone show, it's not connected to the other shows. So, I've been hearing lots of conflicting stories. So the answer we kind of got in the season 2 finale of Superman and Lois, it kind of makes sense. I know some people were a little bit bummed out about the fact that we're probably not going to see these other heroes appear, but going by what we've been told, I kind of see that it makes sense that we haven't seen these guys appear in Superman and Lois, which I'll talk about in a moment. But, this episode, the final episode for season 2, fantastic, as I mentioned. And I'm really curious to see how season 3 is going to play out because it's very rarely, we've been here before, with CW Arrowverse shows. We start off strong, season 1's fantastic, season 2 is good. Season 3 is usually good, and then after season 3 it goes off the cliff. We've talked about these things before, so I'm curious to see how season 3 is going to play out, but we'll talk about that towards the end. But this episode, as I said, really good, and the way Clark got his powers back, very interesting. Kind of reminded me of Smallville a little bit, back in season 8, I believe. It was kind of little similarities, and there was even a little bit of an homage to All-Star Superman as well, involving the Yellow Sun. Lots of cool things going on in this final episode for season 2, but by and large, I really enjoyed this one a lot, and at times it did feel like, I've said this all the time, at times it does feel like I'm watching a movie because, I've said this from the very beginning, the budget's high, the score's powerful, the special effects, the writing, the dialogue, the way everything is executed, the whole package, the visual, it's just incredible. And to think that this is actually a CW show, it's just mind-blowing. I'm going to probably say that this is a CW show, like in terms of the network showing it, but I think it's a HBO Max show. It's certainly got the feel of HBO Max. The budget's just off the charts. So I'm going to give a quick recap of what's happened so far, and then we'll get straight into talking about episode 15, the season 2 finale. There's plenty to talk about, so let's not waste any more time. Let's do recap first, then we'll get straight into the meat and potatoes, if you will. So we've seen Clark lose his powers thanks to Ali, who's kind of become like a parasite for this show. And we see her go up into outer space, and she merges with her Bizarro inverse self, and she starts to merge Bizarro world and Earth Prime into one universe. So basically, what she's doing is anyone who's got an inverse counterpart, they merge with that self and they become what she says whole. So she drains Clark of all of his Superman powers and abilities. So he's pretty much on the sidelines, really. And we've seen Jordan step up, we've seen Natalie and John Henry Irons step up to try and protect the world while Clark tries to figure out a way how to get his powers back. And all of this builds up to the season 2 finale. Obviously, Sarah now knows the truth about Jordan after seeing him use his powers. So all of this comes to a head, and as we saw at the end of episode 14, with the world starting to merge, things start to flicker, people start to disappear, and we see rubbish replaced, and the skies turn like this weird discoloured red. So very interesting stuff here, and really got me curious to know how they're going to pull this off in the season 2 finale, which brings us to that now. So with that all said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the season 2 finale, episode 15, Waiting for Superman. So we see Chrissy urges everybody to be with their families as we start to see people are randomly being transported between both worlds while Ali is slowly merging everything together. And we see the Kents are transported to Bizarro World, then they're transported back. And then we see Lois is separated from everyone, and we see Bizarro Lois, who kind of had this whole Adam's Family sort of corpse bride kind of look, which was really, really creepy. And we see the Cushions, they get teleported between different worlds, mostly Kyle. We see him get transported between Bizarro World and Earth Prime. And we also see John Henry Irons, who you remember in episode 14, he tried to stop Ali and everybody lost contact with him. And we see that he's basically trapped between two worlds. So he's kind of like caught up in the middle. And we see Natalie re-establishes contact with him, and she brings his escape pod to the space where he's trapped. And we see them transfer each other's powers in their suits, and they use it to destroy the portals. And we see Tal-Rho. Now, Tal-Rho played a very big part in this episode. Now, in Bizarro World, Tal-Rho was married to Lana, and we see Clark and Tal-Rho are closer than brothers, no pun intended. So Tal-Rho, I guess you could kind of say, for the time being anyway, he's kind of become like an anti-hero, so he really played a big part in this episode. So we see Tal-Rho attempt to stop Ali, and she tries to drain him of his powers, and Jordan comes to the rescue. So thankfully that didn't happen. Tal-Rho didn't completely lose his powers, and then Clark suggests that the only way to stop Ali is it's got to be me. So everybody says to Clark, well, hang on a second, you haven't got any powers. And Clark goes, you're right, I haven't, but Tal has powers. And he's going to throw me into the yellow sun, and that should be enough to recharge my powers and get them back to full strength. Now, obviously, anybody who remembers in season 1, Tal-Rho was the Eradicator, and he became more powerful than a god. So I thought this was kind of interesting that, Tal-Rho used the yellow sun to become very powerful, and now he's using that same power to help Clark. So he really came through in this episode, and we see Clark get his powers back, and he's once again Superman. And we see him take on Ali and really gives Ali a run for her money and causes her to split back into two separate people. And we see Superman rescues John and Natalie, and he manages to separate both worlds and put them back in their respective orbits. And the way Superman was flying around both worlds kind of reminded me of the way Superman reversed time at the end of Superman 1 and Lois died. So definitely reminded me of that a lot. So we see that Superman puts everything back to normal, and both Ali and her inverse self have been separated and everything is back to normal. So we see Smallville celebrate Miracle Monday as a tribute to Superman for saving the world, and Clark and Lana reconcile, and Sarah and Jordan rekindle their relationship, and we see Lois tells Chrissy that Clark is Superman, and Lana tells Carl that their relationship will never be the same, but you'll always be the father of the children, and both Allies are in prison at the DOD, and they admit to Lois that they don't feel complete. Now, things get very interesting in the next scene. So we see John Henry Irons meet with John Diggle. Now, these two have already met each other before back in season 1, so they're no strangers to each other already. So they meet with each other, and there's a line that John Diggle says that pretty much confirms the status of where Superman and Lois fit in as a show. And of course, General Sam Lane said a line earlier in the episode where he pretty much said that I've seen loads of different worlds with leagues of heroes, but we've only got one Superman. So here, John Henry Irons pretty much confirms that Superman and Lois as a show is completely separate to the other shows. So although it's in the Arrowverse, it's on a different Earth, so that explains why we haven't seen Alex Danvers or Kara or the Flash or even some of the other heroes. That pretty much confirms, why we haven't seen these guys. And in a way, I kind of see it making sense, really, because I know the producers have said that they want Superman and Lois to stand on its own, be its own show, and not be connected to those other shows, which is fair enough, but it's not a big surprise. It's just pretty much confirmed what we already know. So we see John Diggle meet with John Henry Irons, and he pretty much asks him, I want to know, why was Bruno Mannheim had Earth Prime's Irons killed? So that makes for a very interesting question that's just been asked. Now, we know that John Diggle is going to possibly be getting his own series called The Justice U. So is it possible that maybe that he could be recruiting John Henry Irons to find out why the real one was killed on Earth Prime? Who knows, really, but really sets up for a very interesting season 3, I think. So we see Talrow buys trucks for Jonathan and Jordan. It's funny how he's become the loving uncle. And we see him go to the inverse world where he more or less buys drinks for everyone. So at least he's found his place. And we see Lucy Lane move to Metropolis, and Clark takes his family up to the ocean where he creates a new fortress of solitude. And that pretty much ends episode 15, the season 2 finale of Superman and Lois. Overall, I thought this was a fantastic way to end what has been an epic season 2, and to get the question finally addressed about why we haven't seen the others appear in Superman and Lois more or less pretty much confirms what I already know. It's the same Earth, but just a little bit different. So that's why we haven't seen these guys appear in the show, which is a shame, really. But at least at the same time, we've kind of addressed the elephants in the room. And sadly, we didn't get to see John Diggle become the Green Lantern. It's getting very frustrating not seeing him as the Green Lantern, but I'm sure they're doing this for a reason. But by and large, I thought this was a great way to end season 2. Taro playing a big part in Clark getting his powers back, and it does bode the question, where does Superman and Lois go from here in terms of the 3rd season? Who's going to be the main villain, I wonder? But we'll see, really. But I think the fortress being in the ocean, I think that's kind of cool. So it's kind of be like the family's fortress of solitude. So I would imagine we'll probably see 2 fortresses, Superman's own one and the family one, but we'll see, really. But by and large, I really enjoyed this one a lot, and Superman and Lois continues to be the best show in the Arrowverse, even if it is on a different Earth. So Ali's been defeated, held up in the DOD. John Diggle wants to know why Bruno Mannheim had Earth Prime's Henry Irons killed. There's lots of questions being asked, so we shall see how this is going to play out. But that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on episode 15, the season 2 finale? Did you enjoy it? How do you feel about Superman and Lois being on a different Earth and not connected to the other Earths in terms of the Arrowverse? Do you think it's a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And also, where do you see season 3 going? Who do you think could be the main villain for season 3? And also, what about the mystery about Bruno Mannheim having John Henry Irons killed? Do you think they'll be able to solve that mystery together? And also, where do you see Tal-Rho going from here? Do you think we'll see him again, or do you think he'll settle in the inverse world as their new ruler? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I just want to take this opportunity to say a special thank you to everybody for listening to me. I hope you've enjoyed me talking about all 15 episodes of season 2. It's been a hell of a ride. I've enjoyed every second of Superman and Lois season 2, and I'm super pumped, no pun intended, for season 3. Should be a good one. So we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to play out. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe, and once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening, and I will see all of you next time for Superman and Lois season 3. So until then, bye for now.